Media HDR conference. It is fantastic to see you all here with us. I will be leading today's stream session. As Chelsea said, I am Sarah Weimer and I am helping run today's event with Chelsea. I'm really excited for what we have planned in our sessions today. Just as a reminder, or just as an update, our 10:55 presentation in this room has withdrew. So we will have a break in this room at 10:55, but you are welcome to attend the other session in stream one, and you can also enter and exit between the streams at any time. The good thing about this platform, there is a way to get in and out. Yes, there is a schedule for this room. If you have a look on our event reception, there is a copy of the schedule there. I don't know why I cannot see it in this room at the bottom. It should be here at the bottom, but I can't see it right now. But if you look on the event reception to the left, you can even open it in another tab, which I often do. You can see a copy of the schedule for this room. So just as a quick formality of how this will run, only our presenter will have the audio and visual access on. If you have any questions at any time during the presentation, please post it in the chat. If you look at the top, there is an event chat and a session chat. Please make sure you have the session tab clicked. Otherwise, your questions will be sent to the whole event rather than just for this room, and they may get missed. So make sure you have the session chat clicked at the top right. Feel free to post hello or anything like that just to test it out now if you would like, and make sure you are in the right room. Now I have just got rid of it for myself. So fantastic. So I will now introduce our first speaker. Like Chelsea mentioned, we will have 10 minutes for presentations, and then we will have 10 minutes for questions. I really hope you take the chance to ask questions. It's a fantastic time to engage with our presenters. Even if you have some general feedback, we will be taking those through the chat, and I will be facilitating that at the end of our 10-minute presentation. So I will now invite Eliza on the screen. So Eliza Raymond from Victoria University of Wellington is our first presenter, presenting on travel during childhood, the influence of host community contact on children's sense of global citizenship. Welcome, Eliza.
Hi, thank you. I'm just going to try and share my screen.
Sure. So if you just click that little screen at the bottom, you should be good.
Awesome.
Fantastic.
Can you see that okay?
Yes, I can see it. I'm going to disappear from here and let you take the stage for the next 10 minutes, and then I'll come back when you finish and facilitate the questions.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Eliza.
Hi, everyone, and thank you for joining. My name is Eliza. I'm a first-year PhD student at Victoria University of Wellington in New Zealand. So I started my PhD in February, and I'm just finalising my proposal and getting ready to present that to the PhD committee here. So very open to your feedback and thoughts on my topic and my methodology, and also more generally in terms of my presentation, as I need to practice those skills as well. So thank you so much for joining. You can see my title of my PhD currently, which changes regularly. You can see that there. I will start with this quote, which some of you may be familiar with. It's a fairly famous one from Mark Twain, who said in 1869 that travel is fatal to prejudice, bigotry, and narrow-mindedness. And I use that quote to illustrate a fairly common perception that travel can reduce prejudice, can create more broad-minded people, and can foster global citizenship. But although that's kind of a fairly popular and common assumption, the research in the discipline of tourism looking at that relationship between tourism and cross-cultural understanding and global citizenship has produced quite mixed results. So on the one hand, certain forms of travel, like study abroad, for example, have been shown to improve cross-cultural understanding and foster global citizenship in certain situations. But on the other hand, as you can see from this quote from Krippendorf from the 1980s, particularly mass tourism has been shown to actually possibly cause quite the opposite effect and to reinforce stereotypes and prejudice. And the reasons behind that are varied, but a common reason has been the nature of the interactions that occur between visitors and hosts in a tourism context. So as you can see from that photo, a lot of interactions that occur, particularly in the mass tourism setting, are service in nature. So then if we look at other forms of tourism where visitors are really trying to have cross-cultural contact, so voluntourism, for example, although researchers found that volunteers are really wanting that type of cross-cultural contact, often when it's volunteers from the global north going to the global south, they have quite ingrained ethnocentric mindsets when they're approaching those interactions. And so even in that kind of tourism context, those interactions can still reinforce prejudice. So quite mixed results, but what's interesting is that this whole area of research exploring tourism and global citizenship has neglected to explore the perspectives of children. And I think this is a really important gap that deserves addressing. I run a tourism company myself called Good Travel, and we run a lot of family trips where we sell the opportunity for the children and parent participants to become global citizens through our trips. But whether we are actually delivering on that or not is questionable, and we're certainly not the only ones to be doing that. More and more tour operators are promoting that opportunity, and that can be linked to the growing prioritization of global citizenship within, for example, its inclusion in the Sustainable Development Goals. So my research question, my core research question, is looking at how can contact with host communities during travel influence children's sense of global citizenship. And to address that core research question, I have 3 sub-questions. The first is, what kinds of host community contact do children experience when they travel? So I'm really interested in finding out both the types of service contact that occur, but also social contact, and both in terms of tourism and non-tourism service and social contacts. And then secondly, how do children view the influence of these experiences in shaping their attitudes towards the host community? And then thirdly, more broadly, how do those experiences shape their sense of global citizenship? I'm not going to go into kind of the details of defining global citizenship here because I've only got 10 minutes and it is a very debated term. But just briefly, for those of you who it might be a new term for, I'm focusing specifically on the social emotional dimension of global citizenship and adopting UNESCO's definition of that, which is to have a sense of belonging to a common humanity and respect for difference and diversity. So my primary theoretical framework that I'll be using as I explore this topic and interpret the data is intergroup contact theory. So some of you might be familiar with that. It's one of the most widely researched theories in social psychology. And essentially it proposes that positive intergroup contact, so contact between people who identify with different groups, can lead to improved understanding and respect between those groups. And that is, apologise for children's in the background. We're just going back into lockdown in Wellington and readjusting to that, so there might be a bit of background noise. So that first effect there, so it's called the primary transfer effect. So I'll just give a quick example. So for example, myself as a New Zealand European, if I have a positive contact experience with, say, a recent migrant from China, that will then not only make me feel more positive about that individual, but towards people from China in general. And that's known as the primary transfer effect. Now, that can then generalize more broadly, and that's called a secondary transfer effect, and make me more open-minded to having positive opinions about other outgroups as well. So other nationalities, for example, or even beyond that to something quite different, like people with disabilities or transgender people. And then there's also a tertiary transfer effect, which links to that, which can then make me more open-minded in general, but also less, I guess, committed to my own in-group identity. And terms such as deprovincialization, I think that's quite a helpful term to kind of understand how you become more broad-minded and essentially, or though it hasn't been used this way in the intergroup contact theory literature, a global citizen. So that's how I'm kind of bringing this all together. And what's interesting is that in the intergroup contact theory literature is that childhood is identified as an optimal time to intervene upon intergroup biases before they become entrenched patterns of behavior and cognition. So again, another reason why I feel like looking at the impact of travel on children is a really important gap. So here is my conceptual framework. You can see at the middle there, I'm really trying to understand the types of contact that children have with the host community and the conditions and features of those contact, which have been studied quite a lot in intergroup contact theory. And then in the middle circle there, seeing how that influences children's attitudes towards the host community in general, and then more broadly, their sense of global citizenship. So how will I do this? My research philosophy is constructionism, but I've also been strongly influenced by the childhood studies paradigm. So I'm going to be very much taking a child-centered approach into how I explore those research questions. I'll be doing purposeful sampling, so interviewing children in New Zealand aged 11 and 12 who have travelled internationally in the past 5 years. So they'll be recalling past travel experiences, which honestly is primarily for practical reasons. Of course, we're not travelling internationally at the moment, but also I think it will be a really interesting way of looking at kind of the long-term effects of travel and how children reflect back on those and recall them. So semi-structured interviews in the family home. So I will talk to parents as well, but my primary focus will be on talking with the children and doing thematic analysis. And then in terms of advisory groups, this is my first time doing research with children, and there are a lot of ethical considerations, of course, that come with that. And as I said, I really want to be at the forefront of advancing child-centered research in tourism as well. So I'm forming 2 advisory groups to help me with that. The first is a group of child advisors, so children who fit the criteria for participation in my study, but are children who I know and who will help me with piloting my questions, but also with the data analysis and data dissemination stages as well. And then my child-centered research advisory group will include representatives from academia, government and civil society. And again, will really help me with some of the critical ethical issues that I need to think through and that might be ongoing as I begin to conduct interviews. So finally, in terms of my contributions at a theoretical level, I am intending to extend the application of intergroup contact theory and particularly recent advances in intergroup contact theory, such as the secondary and tertiary transfer effects in the context of tourism research. From a methodological perspective, there are not that many child-centered tourism studies, so I really want to advance and build on what has been done there. And from an applied perspective, I hope to be able to provide recommendations to tourism operators like my own, but also more widely as well, who are trying to foster global citizenship through trips, but also to education stakeholders and international relations stakeholders. So that's it. I hope I stayed within my time. I will stop sharing here.
Hi, Eliza.
Hi.
Good, very good within the time limits. Fantastic.
Oh, good.
I can relate with being in lockdown as well. I'm lucky I'm in Queensland, but I know what it's like working at home with kids. It is hard.
Yeah, I'm hiding in my room, but so far so good.
I usually hide in the garage for mine, so I hide in the room. I can relate. Fantastic. So does anyone have any questions for Eliza that they would like to post in the chat? I did have one for you, Eliza. I did notice you with regards to your travel and your data collection and, being impacted by COVID. You kind of mentioned it briefly, but how is that going to impact your data collection in terms of, limiting that potential data collection sample size? Are you going to have to extend it out perhaps into a bit further, or what are you kind of thinking there?
Yeah, so I mean, hopefully by the time I'm doing data collection, it will be next year. So hopefully we'll be all vaccinated and we won't be in lockdown. I guess worst case scenario, I would have to do my interviews over Zoom, which I guess children are at least pretty familiar with using Zoom now. So that will help. But yeah, I mean, ideally when I started this project, or I was thinking about it, I was going to be doing pre and post interviews with children, so interviewing them before they traveled and then when they came home, and getting them to take photos when they travel and that kind of thing. So obviously it has been influenced by that, but I do also see positive things of having children look back and think about how that has shaped them over the past few years and where they're at now and that kind of thing. So yeah, I'm hoping to interview 30 children in the Wellington region and then in the Nelson Tasman region in the South Island to get a bit of a mix of hopefully urban and rural and kids from different types of schools as well. So hopefully quite a mix of experiences.
Yeah,
yeah.
That sounds great. We do have a question here. Very interesting presentation. I was wondering why only interviewing children aged 11 to 12. Is there any justification for that?
Yeah, that's a great question. It took me forever to decide what to do on the ages. I knew I wanted to go under 16 because the existing research is all 16 plus, and most of it is kind of the university age range. So a lot has been done on the impact of study abroad and volunteerism in the kind of 18 plus age range. And so initially I was going to do kind of any children under 16, but then I thought that would lead to having to kind of compare across age ranges and adding another variable, because there's already going to be quite a lot of variables and influencing factors. So I felt by kind of narrowing it down, I'd be able to more easily kind of compare across the different children that I interview. So then the reason I focus specifically on 11 and 12 is because they'll be reflecting back on experiences between the ages of about 6 to 10. And that in the intergroup contact theory literature has been identified as the kind of optimal time for intervening on intergroup biases, where in terms of children's stage of cognitive development, they're really starting to form prejudices. So it's when you can be most effective in influencing that. But then also the 11 and 12 age range itself, which is the age of the children I'll be talking to, is when children are really starting to form their sense of belonging and really thinking about where they belong in their school, in their community, and hopefully in the world as well. So talking about, I mean, I won't use the term global citizenship, but the concept of that will hopefully be quite relevant for that age range. But of course, it does limit my sample pool, which is why I'm going to have to be quite proactive about finding participants.
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you so much. Does anyone else have any questions for Eliza? We have a couple more minutes. As New Zealanders in Australia at the moment, that travel limitation has been super hard, especially for my kids to try explain why we can't travel. So fingers crossed next year.
Are you from New Zealand?
Yeah, I'm from Auckland originally.
Oh, wow.
Now I live on the Gold Coast. So for my kids 4 and 2, we used to go home all the time, but now being kind of limited on that travel, hopefully next year we can come home again. A long time not to see family.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, we do have another question here. I wonder for the children you are interviewing, will they have some knowledge about the host country before traveling to the host countries or not? And will that impact or affect their experience?
Thank you. Yeah, that's a great question. And there has been some existing research, obviously with adults, done on all the kind of different variables that can affect the impact of travel. And that's certainly one of them, right? So if they've been to the country before, or they know people from that country in their home country, or they may even, be visiting extended family in that country. So absolutely, I do anticipate that will affect both the types of contact they have and the effects of that contact. So it is going to be quite a broad study and definitely qualitative, right? Because there's going to be so many different things that influence the types of contacts that happen and their associated effects. But I'm hoping that by talking to as many children as possible, I will be able to draw out some themes, both in terms of what does influence and also what types of effects are possible, both positive and negative, right?
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much, Liza. We're out of time, but thank you everyone else for asking questions. It's been a really insightful presentation and a great way to kind of start our session. Thank you so much, Eliza. I will just remove you from the screen now and do my magic behind the scenes here.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Sarah. I hope you get to come back to New Zealand soon.
Oh, me too.
And thanks
hopefully soon.
Yeah. Bye.
Okay, fantastic. So next up on our presentation schedule, we have Naji Garibi talking about the eye on future impacts of XR technologies on tourist emotions and behavioral intentions. When you are ready, can you please request audio and visual access for me? It is located at the top right of your screen in our stream session. Fantastic. I will now approve your access and bring you on the screen.
Thank you so much.
Oh, welcome. I don't actually have what university you are from.
Yes, I'm from Victoria University of Wellington as well.
Oh, the same. Another one. Double the stream.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Great to have you here. So
Thank
can
you
you
so
just
yeah, I'm going to share
your
my screen. Just a moment.
That is okay.
Sorry, first time to work with this. Just a moment, please.
Can you either share a window or your entire screen?
Sorry, I'm using Mac and it's a little bit complicated. Privacy issues. Hopping. Sorry.
No, that's fine. We have time. There's no one after you in this room, so we have time to sort it out.
I think I should. Oh my God.
No, that's fine. So if you click that screen with the little line through it, is it giving you an option to share your entire screen, a window, or a Chrome tab?
Yeah, it's just security issues of the Mac, which I should go to. I tried this another time.
Oh, it doesn't let you share anything?
Yeah. Yeah, it doesn't allow, so I have to go to my setting.
Okay, that's fine. We can wait for you to sort it.
I don't know how to do this. Did I do that or?
Not yet.
Not yet. Share. No. Didn't expect that.
No, that's fine.
Betty, can you help me? Sorry, I need to get help from my husband.
That's fine.
What's the problem is that I need just want to share my screen. When I tap share and I want to share that, it was telling me before to go to preferences. Oh yeah, that's all like this. I think you should add. Oh.
No luck?
No.
You can either email me a copy of your presentation and I can share it, or I'm happy for you just to present for 10 minutes and talk through your slides if you don't need them, or if you need the data to be shown.
Okay, I can email you. I
Okay,
think that
I
would
will
be,
just put my email address
yeah,
in
sure.
chat for you, so you can email them through. You just email me the slides, and I can share them on my screen, and then just tell me when you want a new slide.
Did you? When can I? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Always a way around it somehow.
Okay, I'm just sending this. I send it now.
Okay, fantastic. I will just open that up now, and I can wait for it to come through. Stuck out there somewhere in the internet. Okay, fantastic. Okay, let me just download this for you now. Okay, let me share my screen, and you just let me know when you want me to change your slides, and I will click them across for you.
Okay, sure. Thank you so much.
No worries. Okay, let me just make it into. You can see that, okay?
Thank you.
It's okay.
Oh, sorry.
No, that's okay.
Sorry, everyone. I'm Naji, and I'm studying PhD. I'm a second-year PhD student at Victoria University of Wellington in tourism management. In my research, I'm trying to explore the impact of XR technologies on tourist emotion and behavioral intention. Next slide, please. Sarah, could you? Thank you so much. I'm going to start by explaining what is this research all about and why it is important. Evolution of technologies has happened, even it was happening before COVID, but it's been accelerated, and even our grandmas are using technology, different kind of technology, more than before. Like this one that for the first time I'm using hopping today. So this evolution of technologies and COVID-19 make us change, and our behavior and emotion toward the technology and anything has changed. So and it's going to change again and again. So it's in tourism context as well. And it is very fundamental to explore why this is happening and how technologies are changing our behavioral intention and emotions. So next slide, please. Thanks. My research questions are trying to answer how do XR technologies affect potential tourist emotion and behavioral intention? This is my main question. And I'm trying to answer 4 sub-questions in relationship to that. What types of emotions are induced through XR technology experience by potential tourists in pre-trip stage? And how are these emotions are related to each other? And how are potential tourist emotion are related to their behavioral intention toward the destination and also toward the technology that they're using. Next slide, please. So what is XR technology? That's the first question. Maybe some of you know about that, but I'm going to explain about what are these technologies. So extended reality, or XR, is an umbrella term which encompasses virtual reality, which is VR, augmented reality, AR, and mixed reality. Virtual reality is a completely digital environment. Maybe you have tried, most of you have tried this one. Augmented reality is a mixture of virtual reality, like digital environment and real environment. So it means that you can see a virtual object in real world around you. Virtual reality and augmented reality are mixed together to create mixed reality, which is like augmented reality. You can see virtual object in world around you, but the difference is that you can interact with the virtual object, make changes, and it's more immersive and also more interactive, I mean. So this is the meaning of XR technologies. Next slide, please. I began by reviewing the literature, and I found that the XR technology is studied in other areas, and it's quite new in terms of tourism context. And so I started by studying about emotions relation to technologies. And I found that emotion awe, which is one of the most common emotional experience for tourists. But, and I should clarify that this feeling is really complex, and it's a combination of feeling of confused, surprised, fear, and other complex emotions. And this awe has studied in other areas, but in terms of technologies, it's not studied in tourism context. And also, I found technology attachment and place attachment, which is common in tourism context, and its destination attachment as emotions that are can be studied as the emotions induced by XR technologies. And a few studies have shown that tourist emotions are connected to their behavioral intention toward the destination. So the literature review about this area is very, very few. But by using this literature review, I developed a primary conceptual framework. Next slide, please. Thank you. I'm going to be quick through the gaps. I explain about the gaps. Next, please. I found about the emotions that technology attachment, destination attachment, and awe and technology emotional relationship are a big gap in a literature review. Next slide, please. So, as I mentioned, I developed a conceptual framework, which is primary, and some part of that are quite exploratory and are not studied in tourism context. So I'm trying to connect XR experience, XR technology experience to emotions of awe, destination attachment, and technology attachment, and ultimately connect this to tourist behavioral intention toward the destination, which is technology attachment recommendation, destination recommendation, and intention to visit the destination. So as I mentioned, some part of this conceptual framework are quite exploratory. So I had to go for a research design. Next slide, please, which includes this exploratory phase. So I chose exploratory sequential mix method for my research design. It means that I have to do the qualitative phase with semi-structured interviews and tourist observation I try to extract variables and look through my conceptual framework and extract the variables for my quantitative phase. So after finishing the qualitative phase and extracting variable by analyzing the data, I will go to quantitative phase, and with the questionnaire, I will try to measure this hypothesis. My sample is purposive sampling because I'm trying to focus on the young generation as technology users. And I chose Victoria University of Wellington students for the first phase, which is qualitative. And the tool that I'm using is an HP mixed reality headset. With this device, I try to, my participant will try a tour to Rome, which is a 15-minute tour to Rome, and it is developed by Microsoft company, and the name is HoloTour. Next slide, please. So for the first phase of this study, which already finished, one group of participants, which were 20, experienced the HoloTour to Rome, the 15-minute tour to Rome, I mean, and they were interviewed by semi-structured interviews, and I'm in lockdown. I'm trying to analyze the data. I recently started to analyze the data and do the content and thematic analysis to extract the variables and go to the next phase, which has not begun. So I'm in this phase right now. Next slide, please. So when I finish analyzing the data and extract a variable, I will go to quantitative phase, which is includes of two groups of participants. I'm planning to try a pre-experience questionnaire because people already have intention to visit the Rome and we want to know the effectiveness of technology. I'm using a pre-experience questionnaire. Then this two group, one of them experienced the tour that I mentioned, the same is in qualitative phase, and one group will experience a website which provides a tour to Rome. So they will answer questionnaire, and I've been suggested to use 1 week after questionnaire as well to test the durability of their emotion and behavioral intention. Finally, the data will be analyzed by structural equation modeling to answer the research question. Next slide, please. About my contribution, this study in terms of methodological is exploratory sequential mixed method, which has not been used before. And also I'm connecting 3 bodies of knowledge: XR technology, tourist experience, emotions, and tourist behavioral intention. So this is my huge contribution of this study, and I'm using trying to explore emotion technology relationship and complex emotions like awe, which are not been studied in relation to technologies in tourism context. And I'm trying to use these technologies to motivate tourists to travel in a post-pandemic world, which is my next contribution. Next slide, please. Thank you so much for your time. I'm very happy to take your comments, thoughts, and questions.
Thank you so much. What a fantastic presentation. I'm glad we were able to get there in the end of the technology slide. We always could make it happen. Does anyone have any questions in the chat? Oh, no. It's always a little bit slow with the questions, but we are running out of time in this room.
Yes.
Oh, here we go. We still have time. That's fine. We still have about 5 more minutes. So perhaps you could consider extending your sample to other than young demographics as a consideration here.
Yes. definitely I'm thinking about that. Because of COVID and other issues, we try to use Victoria University of Wellington. We are changing levels, as you know, and sometimes we are in quarantine. But for my quantitative phase, I definitely consider this expanding the sample. I mean, thank you.
Fantastic. We have another question here. It's such a good topic. Is there a complicating factor associated with the excitement of experiencing the new technology rather than just the tour?
Thank you so much. Honestly, it's it's a complicated factor, but already with my qualitative phase, I my results show that I'm quite confident that these factors are coming out of my interviews, and especially about I didn't expect that. As I mentioned, it's exploratory, but I found that these factors are going, but also about negative factors. So I'm looking through many options.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for your presentation. Like I mentioned previously, if you do have any further questions, I'm sure our presenters don't mind if you send them emails. Send them a message. You can contact people using the event button and then clicking people, and you can direct message anyone. So if you do have any questions for our presenters, or you want to get their contact details to chat further, you can contact them through this platform, and I'm sure they'll be happy to help.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'm just going to remove you again from the screen. Thank you so much for your presentation.
Thank you. Thank you.
So in this room now, we do not have anything for this session due to a withdrawal. So if you would like, you can head over to our stream 1, and we will be back in stream 2 at 11:15 a.m. So hopefully see you in stream 1 or back in this room at 11:15 a.m. Thanks, everyone.